G'day guys, how's it going? Screezilla here, putting on a more Australian accent than normal. As you might know, I do live in Australia, but I am British. I am English. I've lived here for 10 years. So to finally have an Australian Navy ship is pretty cool. We finally have HMAS Perth. Pretty cool little ship actually. It's not going to be to everybody's taste. Premium ship, you're looking about $30 roughly for the base ship. Um, it's a typical British light cruiser. It's based off the Leander cruiser. It's a modified Leander. Originally, she was commissioned as a Leander, as HMS Amphion at Portsmouth Royal Navy Dockyard in 1936. Spent some time in Africa. Came back to England, got retrofitted for a catapult plane, a Supermarine Seagull. I believe she's got a Walrus now, actually, on board, but I might be wrong. It does look like a Walrus to me. Excuse me, I have a terrible throaty thing at the moment, so I have a nice deep voice, and I sound less high-pitched than normal, but I will be coughing during this review. The ship saw a bit of a career in the Australian Royal Navy. She actually attended the 1939 World's Fair in America to show off the Australian Royal Navy aspect there. Sailed around a bit. Guarded some oil tankers sort of around the Mediterranean, it's not Mediterranean, around Hawaii and sort of the West Indies, all of those places for a bit of time. The Caribbean islands and things like that. That was the most peaceful time of her service, however. She had a rather unfortunate end. In January 1941, while it docked at Malta, she came under attack by a German aircraft, suffering damage that was repaired by a month's end. 2 months later, in late March 1941, she saw her first major battle at the Battle of Cape Matapan. In February 1942, HMAS Perth and USS Houston survived the Battle of Java Sea, where the Allies suffered a disastrous defeat at the hands of the Imperial Japanese Navy. They docked at Tanjong Priok on the 28th of February to resupply before sailing out that evening. After receiving orders from the Royal Netherlands, Everston, to sail through the Sunda Strait to can't pronounce that name, Tjalatapa. Yeah, I'm smothering that. I'm sure people are throwing things at their computer right now. They had anticipated no contact with the Imperial Japanese Navy at the time. They didn't think there was any action there. Unfortunately, this was wrong. Japanese forces in Bantaman Bay came under attack, and 12 destroyers and 5 cruisers attacked from 12 destroyers and 5 cruisers of the Imperial Japanese Navy. Despite being demoralised by defeat, low on supplies and severely outnumbered, the crews of the HMAS Perth and the USS Houston put up a heroic fight. They kept fighting until the very end. Of HMAS Perth's 681 crew, 353 souls perished. Most of the survivors, 328, were taken captive. Only 214 would make it back to Australia. So it's a bit of an interesting ship, if not a sad one. The Perth is a bit of a different ship as well. It's very similar to the Leandra. If we have a look between the two of them, you'll see that the Leander has actually got better AAA defense. Maneuverability comes to the Perth, and survivability too. Survivability goes to the Leander. Really not much survivability. However, the big thing is the artillery. They both have the same amount of torpedoes. Maneuverability is pretty much the same for both ships. Concealment is the same for both ships, being that they are the same ship, basically. They're the same class. The big thing, though, for the Perth is the way it plays. So let's get into a game, into a random battle, and show you. One other little thing we'll just show you is just on the AAA defences. Sure, if you've watched Jingles, you'll have actually seen this. Where are we? Here we go. If you look in the little top hand corner there, there is an inflatable koala bear hanging out. I believe it's actually a drop bear, placed there strategically, just in case of any boarding parties. If anyone boards this ship, they're in for a nasty surprise, as the koala drop bear rips them limb from limb. Oh, evil creatures that they are. So, the Perth has been getting some very mixed reviews from people. A lot of people don't like this ship. If you like the British line of cruisers, you're going to like this ship. I'll put it that way. If you're a destroyer player, it plays very much like a destroyer. You've got an 8-kilometer torpedo range. You're sort of like a giant American destroyer in that remark. The main difference is you don't have the mixed AP, sort of half armor-piercing ammunition that the British cruisers have. You're very similar to the Belfast in the fact that, you know, you've got the mixture of high explosives and standard armor-piercing. When you're going up against other cruisers of similar sort of tier, you generally tend to be outmatched a lot of the time. The big thing is, though, you have got a spotter aircraft. Now, I would very much recommend taking the spotter aircraft over the fighter catapult plane, just because the spotter aircraft gives you a huge range increase, really makes a difference. So here we are. As you can see, the ship is pretty. It's a pretty little ship. Wait for the camouflage to load up there. So, I'm not expecting this battle to go too well. Now, the main thing for your British ships is you want to keep in cover early game. Try and keep back. It's sort of like you are a bit like a destroyer. You have a 9-kilometer detectability range, so that's quite good. You're pretty hard to see. However, when you do get spotted, you're going to take a hammering. You do not want to take a broadside on this ship. The big thing is you don't have a damage repair ability on this ship, unlike the Leander. So when you do take a cough again here. When you do take damage, that damage is there permanently, and you're stuck with it. So you are in deep trouble. You want to island hop, you want to use cover as much as possible. Your torpedoes are really good, though. So the torpedoes have got a very good speed, 61 knots, very good range of 8 kilometers. So you've pretty much got the same torpedo range as a lot of American destroyers at this tier. You don't have as many. Usually you've only got 3 either side, but you can use the individual torpedo shops, which are really handy sometimes. Now we can see that there is a smoke screen up over there, so I'm going to keep going this way and sort of try and sneak around and try and get undetected. Big difference with this ship is actually the smoke screen you have. It's a different smoke screen to any other in game. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll show you when I actually pop it. So we'll keep an eye out here. I say, this being live gameplay, this could go either incredibly well, or I could die in the first couple of minutes. But at least I'll hopefully get to show you the smoke screen before I get Citadel to death. So the smoke screen, you can actually move with it, which is really handy. As long as you're going slow, you need to be going 1/4 speed. So it's a bit different in that regard. Now, you have terrible AAA capabilities on this ship as well. Another thing you've got to keep in mind. It's very weak against enemy planes. you'll get a few kills, but it's very rare that you'll take them out, so you've got to be really wary of torpedo bombers. I would recommend getting the rudder shift time enhancement. You want to make the ship as maneuverable as possible. It's not bad in that regard, and it's pretty fast, and like all British cruisers, it holds its speed and turn pretty well, which is really, really useful. But again, as I say, you have to be very careful. You do have the sonar, which is very useful for your smoke screens. Oh, I'm going to get spotted at any moment now, so let's try and turn out. Let's see which way he's going away from us at least. So I'm trying here just to get around to a point where I can actually sneak almost behind the enemy. And what I'm going to do is, when I get into a spot that I feel safe and comfortable in, I'm actually going to probably pop some smoke and then get my spotter aircraft up and hope that we have enough people around to spot for us. So our team seem to be doing some good damage there. So they've got 3 destroyers, and at least one of the destroyers is over there. So I'm hoping I don't run into any sneaky old destroyers or come across a battleship right in front of me or something like that, because that could be quite painful. So as I'm saying, with this ship, it's very sort of good in some respects. In others, it's very bad. The range of the guns are really good with the spotter aircraft. So what I might do is, we're getting to a point where, yes, let's see what's happening. So let's just start slowing her down here. And let's get our spotter aircraft up. And let's pop our smoke screen. So, once our spotter aircraft is airborne, we've got a range of 15 kilometers. And as you can see, I really balls that up, because I thought I had somebody closer than that. Terrible, terrible playing by me. What a surprise. So, hoping that we can spot that cruiser in that area there somewhere and it comes out of hiding pretty soon. If not, we will try and fire off a few rounds and hit that man over there. So, as I said, with the range, you've got some really good range here, which is really handy, and the fact that you can actually move while under smokescreen is really, really handy, because you're not sort of stuck in one spot. So you can sort of keep moving and keep a sort of good bit of momentum going and sort of getting to cover and sort of keep an eye out from the enemy. Nope, that's not working for us at all. That was a complete waste of smokescreen. We've got a battleship over there, so let's start firing off over there and start doing some flame damage to that battleship over there. So this is what I mean about the smokescreen. It's very good in the fact that you can actually keep moving while it's sort of working. And that works really well for when you're sort of going around. So smokescreen is now gone. Our spotter aircraft will be sort of heading down soon. So let's try and get this island for cover here. Now, I just want to use cover as much as possible in this game. A big thing about British cruisers is you want to use cover to your advantage. So while I've not got smoke, I'm a pretty big target to sort of go for. Pretty easy pickings for most ships. So we've got a Kirov there. So let's switch to our armor piercing. Let's start putting some speed on, because he's going to detect us any moment now. His guns are not facing towards us, so let's do some firing off towards him. We might even get some citadels if we're lucky. Now, as you see there, we got hit pretty hard there, and we're on fire. So now's the time to start using the ship's maneuverability. We want to get away from being bow onto this guy. And there's also a battleship over there, so we want to get out of this area as quick as possible, because we're going to start taking some serious damage soon. The gun traverse of this ship is pretty bad as well. You're generally pretty bollocksed in this ship when you've got your guns. Start slowing down, taking big damage now, and let's pop that smoke screen, and hopefully we're going to be alright here. Now, blind fire a group of torpedoes over that way. We want to get these fires out as soon as possible, because they're going to cause us a lot of damage. We also pop our sonar as well. So we're going to slowly move towards this island and try and run away from this problem that we have caused ourselves. So as you see, it's very useful to have this this smoke generator with the way it puffs, because you can keep moving, and that is very, very handy. Now I know that there's a cruiser heading towards my location, so I'm going to want to start getting the heck out of Dodge here. Smoke's going to start depleting soon, so let's get the hell out of here. I'm going to switch myself to now. I am going to die very quickly, so as you see, the perf, it's very flimsy. But if you get a good game, you can have a really good game in it. This wasn't particularly a good game. I got stranded on the other side of the map with no support. Bit my fault there. Didn't have the best of luck with my smoke screens. But if you can get it timed right, if you can get things working in the right the right way, this ship can be really deadly. So let's head back to port and just talk about some of the details of this ship. So, as you expect, armour is pretty much non-existent on this ship. Its armour layout is pretty hideous. Like the Leander, your armour is pretty much nothing. You do have that 100mm belt, but that's about it. The main thing are the guns, and that's your biggest strength. The fact that you do have high explosive shells makes a really big difference. Not a huge chance of fire, but they are pretty good. And unlike other ships of the British Navy, you can actually, of course, set fires. With the AP shells, the semi-armour piercing shells of the Royal Navy, they've got good damage to them, and they usually actually do really good damage. So that's a very good plus. Whereas with the Perth, your armor piercing is pretty much the same as everybody else's armor piercing. So they have that slight delay. So when you're firing against a destroyer or something like that, they tend not to go through very easily, and you tend to have trouble there. The other big thing as well, actually, I will mention it with the Perth, is because it's a Commonwealth ship, you only have Commonwealth captains. So you can't use it like a premium ship to train up your crew, which is kind of awkward and kind of annoying, because you're sort of stuck with it. It's a bit like the Polish ship, when there's just one ship in a tree, or the French Navy, say. You sort of are a bit stuck in that regard. Onto the modules. So, as I say, the torpedoes are really good when they actually hit. They do quite a bit of damage, and they're pretty hard to dodge. If you get good at using single torpedo spreads, it's really, really handy as well. Module-wise, I've gone with the main arm modification, the aiming system, damage control systems, and I will be getting probably the steering gears for this when I get enough money. For the consumables, as I say, I've been using the premium ones because I have a fair few in stock at the moment. But the standard one, you get pretty good use of it. You're actually better off, I think, using the standard spotter aircraft because it lasts for 180 seconds, whereas the premium spotter aircraft lasts for 100 seconds. Although the reload time is much faster, it is better to have that longer time in the air. So I would recommend actually using the standard free spotter aircraft over the premium spotter aircraft, just because you get that extra 80 seconds of it in the air. And then of course you've got your hydroacoustics. Again, you know, if you've got the available ones, use them. If not, just go for the standard. It's not going to make much difference, really. And that's about it, really. The main thing I can say about this ship is you've got to play it very carefully. It's a very tricky ship to play. It's very much like the British light cruisers, because it is one, I guess. And we had a victory there. I should have kept watching, I suppose. You know, it's a very tricky ship to play, and it is a very sort of hard ship to learn. Let's just have a look at that match, see where I ended up. Probably quite low on the scoring board. Yeah, quite low on the scoring board, because I did pretty crap in that game, in all honesty. But with detailed report, you know, you do quite a bit of damage to ships. You can do quite a bit of good damage to ships with them. It does take a bit of time to get used to the aiming system, because it's a bit tricky at first, but when you do get used to it, it does help a lot. I'm using a premium count at the moment, and of course, you know, getting a nice bit of refund for it, so making a good bit of money, because I spent a lot of money getting everything ready. So as you can see with the armor, you know, same as the Leander, your Citadel armor belts. If we take off our plate armor there, you can sort of see the Citadel front armor just below the waterline there at 76. If you take a front on this ship and it goes through and penetrates to the Citadel, you're screwed. But really, if you get shot in any of these ships, you are screwed. Your Citadels are going to take a hammering every single time. So I hope you found this video interesting, guys. Sorry it was a terrible battle. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you again soon. This is Screezilla out.